Hello and welcome to the Photo Brigade podcast. I'm Robert Kaplan and I have my friend Rick Friedman from Boston in town in New York. How you doing, Rick?
I am doing great. It's great to be here. Thanks so much for having me.
We actually just had you on the podcast recently.
Yes,
although
that was great.
It wasn't a video podcast.
No.
You were one of my last of like 60 audio podcasts before we went straight to video now. So welcome to the wild world of television, internet TV.
This is wonderful, and I think it'll be a lot easier to show photographs.
Oh, yeah.
This way than trying to show them on the radio.
Yes, definitely. Before we get started, I just wanted to give a quick shout out to a couple of our partners. We're recording this live at Adorama's event space in New York. If you're interested in seeing more of what Adorama has to offer, just go to adorama.com/events, and you can see more of our events at photobrigade.com/live. Additionally, Tenba bags, Canon Professional Services, CPS, they're great, right here, and Rode microphones for these awesome microphones. So plugs are over.
Great.
Plugs are over. Now we can get to
let's talk about some photographs.
Let's talk about some photographs.
Yes.
So Rick, you're from Boston. We met on a Sports Illustrated photo shoot.
Yes.
In Boston, we were covering it. It was actually a Gregory Heisler big cover shoot of the Boston Marathon.
1 year after the marathon.
Exactly, 1 year after the marathon. We had all sorts of awesome people there, including. Excuse me. We had a bunch of really great people there, including Brad Smith and great photographers, and then 3,000 other amazing,
a few other
subjects.
people like the mayor of Boston, the police commissioner, and like you said, about 3,000 citizens showed up to be extras to try to be on the cover of Sports Illustrated.
And they sure did. I mean, they literally 3,000 people showed up for it. So, anywho, that's where we met. And you ended up getting some nice photos, and you had a leading off, didn't you?
We did okay on that, yeah.
You did better than me, actually, because all my stuff was just online.
Yeah.
You got the nice shots.
Well, it's always nice to get published once in a while.
Yeah. All right. So anyhow, what are you doing in New York?
Well, I actually came down to New York. I've been working on a product with Roscoe, who are the wonderful folks that make gels and light modifiers and smoke machines and all sorts of other great things. And I'm just going to hold this up. We've just introduced the new version of a location lighting kit that I've designed for our folks at Roscoe.
What camera is this? It's this one. So hold it up to this one up there.
Hold it up to that
one?
Okay.
I didn't realize we have all these different cameras.
So what we did is this is actually based on gels that I've always carried in my camera bag. I do a lot of lighting. Obviously, my news work, I may not do any, but in a lot of my magazine portraiture, we're doing a tremendous amount of lighting. And I've always carried a lot of gels with me in cinefoil, which, for those of you that don't know, is black tin foil.
Right.
And Tough Spun is another product I use a lot of. So we came out with the first version, and that sold very well and had a lot less. And then at Photo Plus this past year, we introduced a second version of this, and that sold out. So now we decided to repackage it because this is going to fit in your camera bag a lot better.
Yeah, because I remember when I saw you last, we were in Boston, and you had shown me something similar, but it was all just flat, like a record. It looked like a...
Right,
a LP.
Right.
Like
So the idea in this, so we just go ahead and rip this open.
Yeah, open it up. Let's see what we got in here.
I don't know if you can actually see. We'll show you the cover shot a little later and how this was created. But this particular image, the cover shot, is only 2 lights. And the lighting on the background is 1 speed light.
Okay.
All that lit the background. But let me just pull this over and open and show you what we've done put in it. And it's kind of interesting. Like I said, the original version of this was a ratty plastic bag that I carried all my junk in my camera case. So the idea was to put it all together.
So how many? There's a bunch of gels that you would use for...
We have 24 Roscoe gels that are all numbered. So if you really like a particular color and you want to buy them in larger sheets, you can get them in larger sheets. So
I've had these gel packs that I used for small systems in the past, little sample packs that I've always used. You can get all the different colors and everything, and then it fits perfectly on your speed light.
Right.
But these are for like more serious lights.
Yes, but I tend to buy sheets this size. I use a lot of CTOs, color temperature orange. When I'm out shooting, I've got that ugly slate gray sky, and I want to make it blue. And I want to do it in camera because, as you know, as magazine photographers, we can't go back to our computers and start changing colors.
Right.
But if we can do it in the camera, you can do it.
Right.
So if I set my camera on tungsten, right, take my strobe, put a CTO filter on it, my daylight strobe is now tungsten. My ugly gray sky is now a blue sky, yet the skin tones of my people are correct.
Right.
So we went through and we did a whole...
Closer to this.
We put in a whole lot of gels, got several CTOs. We went through the series of CTBs, blues, which we can use to add blue, but we're also using them for color corrections.
Is this like the photographer's equivalent of like a designer having like their own paint line or something? Like these are your selective color. These are the colors that
I kind of look at them as my crayons.
Your crayons. How many colors are there?
We have 24 sheets.
24 different sheets.
24 different sheets.
And then also you got, is this in it too?
Go right ahead, pull that apart.
Cinefoil and everything.
That was essential to put in the kit. So cinefoil, it's one large sheet, it's folded up.
Right.
You just peel it right off the roll there.
That's kind of nice. I've seen it. Basically, it comes. Usually, these things come in like a
roll.
In a roll, like a tinfoil or something.
Right. It's like black tinfoil, and you can get it in 10 and 12 foot rolls, marketed by Roscoe's Photo Foil, or you can get it in the much larger rolls as Cinefoil. And
it's nice for like snooting and
you make
everything.
Custom-made snoots out of this. Yeah, and we're going to show you a little bit further on. We get to a couple of images, I'm going to start on these, about how we actually project color patterns. So how we take a plain white wall, like any white wall you've got, you walk in, you have nothing to work with, and we're going to show you how to project colors on it. So why don't, if you'd like, let's run through a little bit of my work.
Let's look through some of this, and we can also talk about your background a little bit as well.
Sure.
And we should mention before we do this, while you are big into portraiture these days, you also have done journalism.
Do a lot of journalism.
Do a lot of journalism. I've seen that you've recently been doing some of the campaign.
I am covering my 10th presidential campaign. 10 cycles, which means that I'm really old.
Yeah, it was. Times 4.
Yeah, exactly. I'm lousy at math, so I don't do that.
But, so, your campaign coverage that you're doing, are you doing that for a client, or are you just kind of making it work?
Doing it for various clients.
Various clients,
so we have folks who very nicely paid us to go out there and do it.
Right. Well, good. Well, that's what we're all about.
But to me, it's great fun doing it. We're gonna, if a couple more frames, we're gonna get into politics.
Okay. So let's go into the photos here now.
Start a little bit. This is I described this one as just one guy sitting around telling a story to another guy. Unless you look at who the folks are, and what you have is Paul Simon telling Chuck Berry stories with Elvis Costello eavesdropping.
Very nice.
And this one I refer to as just three guys on a couch.
Right.
Again, unless you're into old rock and roll. And this one you have Keith Richards, Chuck Berry, and Leonard Cohen. And I want to point out in both of these images, both of these images were shot with a single speed light on camera.
Oh, okay.
So there's literally, this is all I'm working with. In the case of this particular image here, so if we come back and we take a look at this sky, we have a nice deep blue sky. And yet we've done this with no setup. I mean, they sat on the couch, they looked at me, and it was kind of a surreal event. And
you're essentially matching the exposure outside.
Exactly. So what I'm doing is, my line is, you start your exposure with the element you cannot control. So you're going to set your camera on manual, you're going to take your lens, quickly get a meter reading out the window.
Okay.
Leave that reading. Now when you quickly recompose onto your subjects, if you look at your camera meter, you're wildly underexposed. Right. That's where our TTL strobe comes in. And then for a light modifier, I'm using a very small light modifier. I take this is a Rogue flash bender.
Okay.
And what it does, it just mounts on the top of my speed light.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
And what I've done is I've taken that very small, harsh light source that's the end of a speed light, popped it through a little softbox that I can work a room with.
Right.
So it's going to give me nice soft light. It's not intrusive. And in the case when you're working in a situation like this, you can't have any extra gear in the room.
Right.
I mean, I shot this. I had one camera, one wide-angle zoom, one speed light, and then the flash bender on top.
Right.
And all the rest of the gear is outside the room, because I figured if I crashed into Keith Richards and broke him, they'd be really unhappy with me. So,
well, it looks like you did. Well, he always looks like he's broken.
He was a great guy. He was such a nice guy. This is my favorite bartender, by the way.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Mr. Obama?
Mr. Obama. Yeah, this is actually how we're paying off the national debt. And it's weekends he's going to go sell beer somewhere. But, it's interesting. If you look at this image, this image is also a mixture of strobe and ambient light. So if we come into this back area of the picture, okay, then we're taking a look at that. We see there's some ambient light back there.
Right.
Right.
Slow shutter speed.
Exactly. Drop that shutter speed down. Get some ambient light in there. And yet the image of the president is tack sharp because he's lit with the strobe.
Exactly. All right. Keep it on going. Same sort of situation. Same
sort
deal.
of situation. Can't believe Secret Service didn't throw me out.
We should mention that the slideshow we're going through is kind of a modified presentation that you often give. You do lots of lectures. You do workshops, lighting on location, lighting workshops, and so this is a modified version.
Exactly.
Of that.
That's what this is. This comes from a certain number of the workshops, and the workshops we do all over the country. We do a bunch of them in Europe as well. And so you can go on to Location Lighting Workshops on Facebook and follow us there. On Instagram and Twitter, we're Rick Friedman Picks.
Yeah.
We're constantly posting new workshops.
And tips and all sorts of stuff.
Well, that's the other thing we do is we do a lighting blog every couple of weeks of a shoot, complete with diagrams. I'm one of those photographers who's more than happy to tell you how we did it.
Right.
So everything that's in there, you're getting into a little political stuff here.
Yeah, sorry, I'm just kind of going through some of the photos as you talk.
So anyway, this is obviously Jeb Bush, and I'm not really sure who he's speaking to at this point or who he's signaling.
Right. It's like, get this guy away from me, signal.
Yeah, really. Can I make the press go away? No, he's a very nice gentleman to cover. It really is very interesting. This is also from the current campaign. Mr. Walker,
and so this is you were in where were you, Iowa for this? Or?
No, these are all New Hampshire.
Oh, New Hampshire, that's right.
These are all New Hampshire.
Not too far from your home.
Right up the street.
Right up the street.
This is Bush a little bit surprised that just a couple of members of the press showed up to say hi to him.
Has he hasn't announced yet, has he?
He's not officially announced, but
I mean, he's
really,
got
if
to.
He's not running, he seems to be putting an awful lot of effort into it.
He does, yeah. He's gonna.
Now we kind of jump back a few years.
Yeah, so we should mention you have had a bunch of Newsweek covers.
I've had 7 Newsweek covers.
That's a bunch. That's 7 more than me.
And this one was the very first one. Much to my amazement, obviously this is a lot of years ago. I was working for Newsweek. And the night that I did this picture, actually my assignment was George H.W. Bush. This is the New Hampshire primary night, and my guy had lost. So I finished my shoot, jumped in my beat-up old car, and drove the 15 miles to where Reagan was, and just ran into the room.
It was worth it,
wasn't it? And made it to the third row and said to the friends in front of me, if you lean this way and you lean this way, I can get a lens in the middle. And everybody was very cooperative. And I think back on that, there is no way today this would work. You could not show up primary night and just blow into a room.
Oh, no way.
But anyway, this worked out really well, and I was part of Black Star.
Was this your first cover?
This was my first, certainly my first major cover.
How do you feel now that? This is I've seen this. How do you feel now
that they're running again?
They're running again. Yeah. No. About Newsweek now. It's like it's no longer in print.
No, it's back in print.
Oh, it is back in print.
There is a print edition. Yes. I
didn't realize
beyond that. I don't know a whole lot about it. I think it's wonderful that they're trying to bring it back. General circulation news magazines in the States have been having a rough time of it. But it's nice to see that we have 2. And they're doing some very good work.
This is great.
Well, that's just curious, George. That's all.
Now, let's just see. Might be a little bias in some of your photos. The only Bush photos we've seen are funny faces. That's funny. But they make funny faces.
But wait, there's more.
Okay, there's more coming.
Order before mine. See?
Yeah, there we go.
It was sort of funny on that last one, on that book cover. The agency sold the book cover. And I didn't even know it was out, and I was walking through an airport, and I said, gee, that photograph looks familiar. Yeah. I wonder whose it is. And it was like, oh, good, I made a day's pay.
Good. Hopefully you saw some residuals from that.
Yes, we did. So
you also go do you go to all the inaugurations?
I actually missed the last one.
This must have been the second one, right? The first one was raining. I think I remember it was raining his first inauguration.
It was a tad damp.
Yeah, George W. Bush.
Yeah. And this is Mr. Putin fishing off the bow of Bush's boat in Kennebunkport, Maine.
Oh my goodness, this guy has gotten a lot more. He's got. You just wouldn't expect that kind of a thing.
No, well, that's what was so surreal. And we're also thinking, You have
he freaks me out a little.
President Bushes. Yeah, me too. Something bizarre about, like, is it really a fishing rod, or is he just trying to get information, like eavesdropping on the bushes?
It's like an antenna, right?
There you go. So this is a picture that's been published a lot, and I think they look good in this picture.
Yeah, that's a nice
Going
photo.
Golfing with covering Bush 41.
41 and 43. I'm just realizing they got the hats on.
Yeah,
that's
when
fun.
Bush 41 would play golf.
This is good. I was going to say the first one. There's these famous shots of him in front of this this thing. Kind of makes it like a dreary presidency.
We were a tad damp that day.
I bet. And there were people throwing eggs and stuff.
Yeah.
I remember at that one. Yeah. And then this is on a train with...
this is on their way to their first inauguration.
Oh, okay.
And they took the train in because I guess it was too much traffic or something.
Yeah, right. Goodness gracious. Oh, cool. So, yeah, I've seen this photo a lot, too. Yeah. So tell me, where did you shoot this photo for the fireworks here?
Governor's Island.
Governor's Island.
Yeah.
Were there many people from Governor's Island shooting?
No, it was kind of one of those places that not a lot of the press went.
And was it like empty? Like, were there people?
There were a few people, a few spectators out there, and a few other members of the press. And
Governor's Island is it's not like a place where people live, is it?
No.
Okay, so it's just random people went to watch.
At least not to my knowledge. But
yeah, I didn't think so.
But this is interesting. It goes back. Obviously, we were shooting film.
Oh yeah, so much harder as well.
So
let's talk about technique on this one, okay? Because I know there's many ways.
Or luck, or technique.
Luck and
technique. All of it.
So when we're shooting fireworks, obviously long exposures are key.
Yes.
Right. And there's many ways to do that. You can set your camera to do 5-10 second exposures. You can also do bulb mode and guess yourself.
Well, you can do bulb mode and take a black item like this and drop it in front of the lens when you don't want to record, and then you see a burst you do want to record, then bring it up.
Yes.
And do it that way and time them.
And was that done this way? Or?
These were a series of fairly long exposures, but the challenge here, I'd gone out and done the light test. Normally when you're shooting fireworks, you don't have a large, bright item in the foreground.
Right.
Okay. So here, because we had the statue very lit.
Very brightly lit.
I ended up shooting it. This was shot on Fujichrome film. You remember film?
Film, that's it comes in rolls.
You used to like fill your refrigerator with it. So back then, the slowest film they made was 100. Mm-hmm. So we shot this at ISO 50 and held it a stop. But what I had done was I went down several days early when they were testing the light. I came to the city early, spent a couple more nights in a hotel. Glad I did. Went for the light tests. And getting back and forth to Governor's Island was not that easy.
Right, still isn't.
I mean, I didn't have to swim, but it's tough to swim with all your gear up like this. So what I ended up doing was I ran test rolls, and the answer was hold the film a stop.
Uh-huh.
You know, it's sort of funny because I was always pushing film. This was hold it a stop. That gave me a slow enough exposure to get the stars. Now, granted, today, if I thought about it, you could do it with a polarizing filter.
Uh-huh.
Could do it with an ND filter.
Yeah,
now I do a lot of work using ND filters.
Right.
Which I didn't then.
Right. And also now as digitals come along, there's a lot more latitude where you can, with the raw file, bring it back.
Well, of course.
The equivalent of pulling and pushing, right?
Right, but if you remember, this era, as a magazine photographer, you'd go out and shoot, and then you would take all your film, and you would put it in an envelope, and if you were somewhere on the road, like if I was covering Clinton in Iowa for time, I would take all this film and throw it in an envelope, write caption, Clinton in Iowa. That was a caption. And while the reporters wrote, the photographers would go have dinner, and we'd all put our film in envelopes and each call a courier, and the film would go. So the point was, back then, either you did it or you didn't. There was no, I can save this, and it's still within the bounds of what we're allowed to do.
Right.
So it was a very different way to work.
Yep.
And I think it forced us.
Back in the analog days.
But I think it forced you to be technically a good photographer. Because... you're sending in film unseen. I mean, if you could at least see it, you could be popping out the slides you don't want.
Right.
But I was
that's
sending
probably one of the hardest things to really
a day off to the magazine, and kind of hoping that everything worked.
So you got the cover of the Village Voice.
Got the cover of Village Voice this time. Mm-hmm.
Very nice.
This was shot during their vacation, not this past summer, but the previous summer on the vineyard.
In the vineyard, okay.
Yeah, we actually shot the same picture this year, covering them on the vineyard on the vacation. And you have to be part of the White House pool in order to get this. And I get down and I'm part of the White House pool, but this year they didn't look as happy.
Because they knew that they were doing, because this is a media event right there.
And Malia's like, I don't want to go bike riding with my father.
It's like, you got to make your yearly appearance for the press,
This is in case one Hillary is not enough. But remember, this is a magazine picture. This is a single frame. This is not photoshopped. It's not a composite.
Right.
This is a moment. What it actually is that's a cardboard cutout.
Right. Somebody's trying to
As we walked into the room, I can hear one of the agents say, "That can't be there. It's blocking my view." And he grabbed it and is passing it out.
Oh.
And I was just in position and grabbed my camera.
Perfect.
Leaned on the drive, got 3 shots off, and that's the middle shot.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, that's hilarious.
This was awesome,
Yeah.
The guy in the sweater comes up to me and all of a sudden he says, goes, "Excuse me, is there any way I can get a picture with the Dalai Lama?"
Yes, Sting,
and
you
the
may.
Dalai Lama is looking up going, "Can I get a picture with Sting?"
Yes. Sending out an SOS.
That's true. Whoops. Oh. No, moving the monitors. Hope I didn't screw it up.
Maybe, but oh well.
Oh well. Goldie Hawn, this was done on assignment for People. And, when I show that picture, I tell folks, be ready when you go to a shoot. I walked in early. My cameras are ready to go. She comes out of the back room, sees an old friend. That's the expression.
Right.
That's the moment. In fact, I actually had my photograph before my time ever started.
Right.
However, you thought I wasn't going to spend a half hour with Goldie Hawn one-on-one. Absolutely, we were going to shoot more. She was so awesome to work with. What a dynamic, nice person.
I've never seen her in person.
Oh, she was great. This is a writer, from the UK. The guy's name is Guy Grieve. And I put this in some of the longer demonstrations to explain about how you look at light and when do you decide to use backlight. Because backlight in this case is your friend. I mean, it brings out the highlights on the hat. It gives some separation on the shoulders, brings out that sheen on the water. One speed light filled that back in.
And you're obviously the sunlight is also creating a nice backlight for you. So it's like it's almost like 2 light sources happening.
Exactly. It's what it is. 2 light sources. Yeah. I just don't have much control over one. But it's a good way. And this was shot at Walden Pond, so we could shoot anywhere we wanted to. We could walk all around the pond. So anyway, that's Portrait of Guy.
Right.
So this is, I was going to say, this was version 2 of the lighting kit.
Before it came in a roll.
Before it became version 3. Shameless self-promotion, I admit it. But if you take a look at this image here, in this image, our model is lit with a Dynalite, battery-operated Dynalite uni. We actually, to control where the light was going, we took the cinefoil and we made a snoot out of it. Obviously, a little bigger than this, but we unfolded the sheet, made a snoot out of it, aimed it so we lit the model. I should point up here. So we lit her face right there. Okay, but the rest of it is go up pretty dark. I want to see if the next frame is the demo. Oh, okay, good. This is what I was hoping was here.
Oh, okay, so this is the snoot here.
Here's your set right here. So if you take a look at the Dynalite, in this case we're using a Dynalite uni, and we've used the cinefoil. So if we unwrap this sheet, we got a pretty good sized sheet of cinefoil here. Now I can take this, and I'm using it. There is a snoot already on it, okay? But I'm using this to make more of a snoot because the light I want to just hit the model. So now I have the wall, and the wall's perfectly plain. Now, if you take a look at our very fancy screen over here, see, very high-class screen.
I see
This took a good 8 minutes to make.
So what you've done here is you've taken cinefoil, cut holes into the cinefoil, and put
actually ripped pieces out of it. Ripped pieces out, accurate.
and then created and then
we took a bunch of the gels.
And you made a stained glass window.
Exactly. We made a stained glass window that's not very big.
And so if we go back, you can see the.
So here it is. Let's say we took this. Okay.
Right.
And then cut holes in it, and then we took some of our gels and taped them on. All right. Now we've got this screen, and because of the way we've lit our model, remember?
Go back.
Whoops, yeah. Because of the way we've lit her, the light's on her, but that wall is going fairly dark. All right. So now, when I take my screen that has the gels in it, I can now project it onto the wall.
Yeah. So all this is made possible. Obviously, you can buy different pieces and
you can buy all these pieces separately.
Individually.
Absolutely.
Right. And
my idea was to take all the stuff that I actually use, put it together
into one kit.
put it in one kit.
Yeah, very smart.
And then, so the lighting for your second light, if you jump back to you really can't see it, but there's actually a speed light back there. That's it. And a couple of pocket wizards. So it's 2 lights. It's one Dynalight.
And you can create really dynamic images using these
different
tools.
Patterns.
Yep.
Yes. Yeah. We have done a bunch of different ones.
And then you also do it. Was this an editorial shoot then?
This was an editorial shoot.
Bill Gates, yeah.
Yeah, and very nice gentleman when you photograph him. His people are a tad stressed, possibly too tad stressed.
Right.
And so what we did on this one, we had a setup at 7:30 in the morning. And we went in, and the lighting on this is very simple.
Right.
So we have a Dynalight pack off to the side. And now Dynalight's come up with this thing called a Baja, which is a newer battery-operated unit. The battery's internal. My new light that I'm using all the time.
Baja. This is the what brand is it?
It's a Dynalight.
The Dynalight
Baja. It's 400 watt seconds. It has a 7-stop range. You can buy it with their transmitter for $675.
Okay.
Or $600 without the transmitter. You can completely control them from the top of the camera. It's a great unit. No cords. Shooting in public places. We did a shoot not too long ago with Chris Christie. He was speaking in a ballroom, and we needed to blow the light across the ballroom. And I just put it on a 20-foot light stand, had the remote to dial it up and down power-wise, was able to blow the light all the way across the ballroom.
Oh, wow.
While everybody else was shooting ISO 3200, I'm shooting 100. So,
and you're getting a completely different lit scenario.
Completely different, yeah. So this is John Updike. It's one of my all-time favorite folks to have the honor of photographing. This is actually shot during an interview for Der Spiegel magazine.
Sometimes those interview shots turn out being really nice because you get those reflections. It all depends.
Yeah, well, I think, the way when we go to an interview shot, what we want to do is we know once it happens, once it starts, we have zero control. So before it happens, we want to control it. So in this case, we get there early. We look at how the lighting's going to work. You can't interrupt that interview. Right. You can't say to the subject.
So you kind of got him on the cue, on the space.
Well, so what we did is, first of all, we found this angle, this spot, and as he walked into the room, and I said I'd photographed him many times. So I went up and said, John, nice to see you. He said, Rick, great to see you again. What do you want to do now? I said, well, John, could you sit right here for me, please? That meant I had him in the position that I wanted, because otherwise probably one of the reporters would have come in and said, this chair's comfortable, and sat there. So we had that, but during that interview, you can't shoot all that much. You need to come back with that picture that your editor loves.
Right.
But you can't shoot so much that the strobes are bothering the reporters. So it's a balancing act, and in this case, we're watching, and my wonderful assistant, Keiko Hiromi, is holding a speed light.
Oh, okay.
Going through a small Shimura softbox, and those are my softboxes, Shimuras.
It's Shimiras, not Chimera.
Shimura.
Okay.
At least that's how I pronounce it.
I learn something new every day.
Yes.
Okay.
At least, anyway. And I got to tell you, my oldest one, you're actually going to see it soon. I've only had for 34 years. So I think I got my money's worth out of it.
So you can call it Shimura if you want.
You can call it whatever. Okay. So anyway, this is a case when I pick up the camera, the softbox comes up, we make a frame or two, and we sort of fade back into the woodwork.
Very cool.
This is just some kid at Harvard who's trying to get a date.
When was
trying
this?
To make a buck out of his life, make something of himself.
Wow.
It's a shame the kid had to drop out of Harvard. So
wow. So was this before he became big?
Well, yeah, this is 2 months after the beginning of Facebook.
Oh my gosh.
And they literally called me up and said, we have this assignment to go photograph these Harvard kids with their computers. And I think I said, you mean MIT kids? She said, no, Harvard kids. And living in Boston, we go up there all the time, and she got busy and put me on hold and came back and said, call this kid Mark Zuckerberg. Here's his phone number. Goodbye.
I bet you don't. I bet that number's changed now.
I don't have it, even if it's the same.
What's funny? As photographers, we get these editorial assignments. How often we get the actual numbers of these famous people?
It's unbelievable. Yeah, they give you people phone numbers.
It's so funny. It's like people say, "Do you have this?" Like they mention something like, "Oh, I actually have her email, this celebrity's email." That's funny.
So this one came out of, we were doing one of our location lighting workshops in London this past January. It's part of the big photo show over there, which is called the Society's Photographic Convention. And this was great fun. We did an off-site event, and they actually rented this wonderful old church that had become an asylum at one point. So we built our workshop as a day at the asylum.
Oh, right, yep.
And we get in there, and I called Roscoe, and I said, can I get a smoke machine? And they said, sure, we'll get you over a smoke machine. Well, I wanted kind of a little one. They brought me one you could fill a stadium with.
you could fill the asylum
right.
with.
But anyway, if you take a look at our wonderful model here, so she's actually lit using, I think we lit her with an Ellanchrome. I think there's a brand strobe we're using on this, because Dynalights aren't in the UK. And then we took it and we put a Chimera Beauty dish on it. And I don't know if you've ever seen the Chimera Beauty dish, but...
Yeah, I've seen it. It's the one that folds out.
That's it.
You showed it to me last time. Right.
Beauty dishes are wonderful things. The only problem with most of them is you need a drum case to move them.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. The beauty of the Chimera one is it rolls up
It folds
big.
up.
Yeah.
It rolls up just like your Roscoe.
Exactly,
kit.
yes.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of portability. So that's our main light. Then we put a second light in the back, because if you're going to be working with smoke, you have to backlight it.
Yeah.
And then we just stuck a blue gel onto the strobe, and we were backlighting the smoke with.
Right.
That's how we made blue smoke.
Do you want to know what's a funny story? I had a friend of mine, his name's Guy Rhodes. He's a lighting director out in Chicago. He was in town. He's also an amazing photographer and videographer, right? He showed me a photo that he took. It was, a couple in front of a tree that was covered in snow, and it was snowing and backlit and beautiful. And he goes, I got to tell you the story behind this photo. He goes, that's actually not real snow. That's mashed potato mix being thrown in the air to make it look like it's snowing. And
I never knew you could throw mashed potatoes and make it look like
I gotta send you that
That's
photo.
Funny.
It was hilarious. Amazing what you can do to modify. So as we go through things, we've been talking about kind of all the different stuff. I want to also talk a little bit more about business, like we did in our last podcast, because we're making a video one, and most people will probably watch video. You do a lot of editorial work. You also do a lot of talking. You also...
I've been told that. Never shut up.
But I mean, like, event talking, having workshops,
and lectures
and things like that.
A lot of those.
You also have probably some corporate clients.
A lot of corporate work.
And maybe some sponsors, clearly.
Fortunately, we do.
I'm curious how that's sort of built and how Rick Friedman Photography makes money. You know what I mean? Like,
you too, huh?
Yeah, I mean, we want to know. Like, is it like, probably back in the day it was more like everything was made off of assignments. Nowadays, maybe there's 50-50 between assignments and other talking and this and that. I mean,
no, I still make the majority of my majority of my living shooting pictures.
Okay.
That is by far, in terms of the income, the business model. Most of what I do is shooting. And, even if I'm not on assignment, I go out shooting.
Right.
I was saying, what photographers do to relax? They go take more pictures.
Yeah.
That's what they do.
Yeah.
So.
And you also live in a great area for it, too.
I live in a
beautiful
great area.
street.
Yeah, I mean,
I got to show you my street, because I have a similar street
oh, cool. I'd love to see it. Yeah.
New York style, though.
Yeah. So I do. I mean, I shoot a lot. A lot of it gets sold as stock. A lot of the work that I have on assignments has a second, third, 20th life. I mean, you quickly showed the Laughing Clintons as the picture is known. So that's up to about 75 resales.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. There's one picture which I think is coming up that's done about 300, last count, I think 378 resales.
And do you do these resales? These resales are through your agency, the agency that you work for?
Most are done through the agency. If they contact my office directly, then of course we will fill the order directly.
Right. And I remember when I went to your studio, there were just loads of you used to have all the negatives and stuff.
Still there.
Do you still shoot real analog?
No.
Anymore? It's all digital these days.
No, but I still, the bottom bin of my refrigerator.
You do?
It's still full of film. I mean, I haven't shot it in years.
You got to bring out the Holgas or something.
No, psychologically, I need to have film, even though I don't shoot it. Yeah. But no, everything is digital. It's...
Are you happy, or do you miss the film days?
I think there are times I miss shooting and shipping. Sure.
Oh, meaning that you don't have to edit.
I'm done. My job, then was to go out and make great photographs and to plan for the next great photograph. My job certainly is those things today. But my job is also editing, color correcting, basically pre-press.
Right.
Marketing.
Yep.
As you know, we all know, and how much time do we all spend on social media? You know, and it's great fun to show your friends what you're doing. But I mean, and that's the way of the world today. But it takes a huge amount of time.
Sure.
You know.
And that's one of the reasons why you've built a team as well.
I'm very lucky. I have great people who work with me.
Right. So you know, you're talking about marketing and you know, part of, I would imagine, these talks that you do at Photo Plus. I know that I saw you last year at Photo Plus, not just at one. You know, you're bouncing from like booth to booth to speaking gig to speaking gig. But that's great networking as well.
It's great networking. Yeah.
I mean,
and it's also an excuse to see a lot of your friends.
Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, I think I've gone to these events. Sometimes they can be overwhelming and tiring and all that kind of stuff. But you know, I always end up meeting someone from it that ends up being some sort of great contact in the future.
Absolutely.
So I'm sure that, you know, you doing these things all the time, it's just compounds off of each other.
And what I like about a lot of those events is this, you know, it's an exchange of information.
Yeah.
And I look at my workshops. You know, people come to my workshops to take my workshops, but there's a lot of exchange of information, there's sharing of ideas. You know, photographers generally are really good about giving out information.
Yeah.
I mean, when we post something on our blog, if you go to rickfriedman.com/blog, if we post something there, we will tell you exactly how it's done.
Right.
And we'll put the behind-the-scenes pictures in. Because you and I can take the exact same equipment, go to the exact same event, stand this far apart, and look like we're in completely different places. It's the eye of the person shooting.
And especially you, like you just mentioned, you did a Christie shoot, and all the other photographers, I can guarantee, have a completely different shot than you. Because no one else likely set up strobes that reached the, you know what I mean, and you changed the lighting scenario.
And I have to admit, if it involved bringing in big sets of strobes, because there wasn't a lot of time, I might not have done it. Like, I probably wouldn't have done it. But to just run out to the car and grab one strobe head and a light stand, no, I didn't need any cabling, throw the transmitter on top of the camera, I'm done.
Yeah,
2-minute lighting
that's probably
job.
one of my, like, I mean, I've used other camera systems. I have a Pro Photo kit, you know, it's a portable one, but you know, the key these days, and they're making, you know, all these different companies are making these types of units that are super portable, right?
Yes, they are.
And really convenient. So that's the problem, is now the kits that I have right now, they come in a, you know, big wheelie case, you know, which is a pain in the butt, as you know.
Especially moving it around New York.
Oh, yeah. Tell me about it.
I can't imagine, you know, with the
I actually have a
lighting.
scooter. I was wondering, one time I'm going to park my scooter right in the back in the...
Do you have a monopod on it? Like a little strobe head on it?
A little strobe head. Well, we should do a photo shoot.
That'd be funny. I think you ought to do one of these things running down the street.
That's true. That's true. Yeah. Okay, let's bounce back into some of these photos.
So that one you're looking at is Tim Berners-Lee. All Tim has, well, he's done a lot of things, but the thing he's probably best known for is he invented that thing called the World Wide Web.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so he hasn't done much with it.
Al Gore.
Brilliant man, charming as could be. Unfortunately, we were supposed to have 1 hour to do the photograph in the interview. And of course, the interview went first, and the gentleman who was interviewing went 1 hour 10, which left me -10 to make the picture.
-10, of course.
And as Tim's leaving, he's going, "Rick, I'm sorry, I really have to go." And I said, "Well, Tim, you have to leave the building. Let's go out this door," knowing full well that that's what was out the door.
Yeah.
And of course, you got to give me like 3 frames. And he gave me 3 frames, and this became the cover of the publication.
Yeah, that looks really nice. And that looks
that's
like
the status center
you
at
really
MIT.
utilized the natural light. Obviously, there's a
little bit of flash fill.
Little fill. But
flash fill on the move, though.
Yeah, very nice.
I threw this one in because, you know, people come up with a situation like this. This assignment is go photograph this gentleman who is a high school baseball coach, but it's way off season. We want to tie it together. He doesn't want to put on a uniform by waiting till the very end of the day. We've got that, you know, beautiful deep blue sky. If you look, you know, along the horizon, you can see the sun's just gone down below the horizon. Well, we lit this. Again, you come in, take a meter reading off the element you can't control, off the sky, using our Sekonic light meter. We're going to take and read the light out of the output. We use the Dynalight on this. Take the Sekonic meter, you know, a couple of pocket wizards, read the output. Setup time's about 2 minutes.
So that's interesting. You mentioned the light meters and everything, and coming from my background in photojournalism, hardly ever used, if really ever, a light meter. And I know, especially in lighting, whenever I have real big shoots, I have really great assistants who do all the metering for me.
Great assistants are extremely important. They actually make you look really good.
I know. I love it. When like my buddy Mike Eisler is always my go-to Digitech, and it's one of those things where all I have to do is show up and he hands me the camera. It's like amazing.
Oh, boy, I don't do that one.
Well, you know what
my
I'm saying.
My assistant makes me carry the stuff.
Oh.
She's sitting in the audience smiling.
Homie, don't play that. So anyway, let's see, what was I getting at? But... what was I getting at?
I don't know. I mean, the point I wanted to make with showing this image, though, is that you can come up with a really nice image with not much to work with. Again, we did use, it was the Dynalite with the Shimera beauty dish, collapsible beauty dish, couple of minutes setup. You can take that one light and come up with an image like that.
Right.
This was actually a fun story. I was teaching one of my location lighting workshops here in Manhattan, and the woman dressed as Marie Antoinette said, I'm playing violin tomorrow night at a reception. Why don't you come? It's only an hour, and then we'll go dinner. And I'm thinking, she's a 5'11" redhead, and I'm single. I'm going. Well, I get this. She forgot to tell me it was an outrageous Manhattan costume party.
Okay.
So I went dressed as a photographer.
Right.
And I didn't have a lot of gear with me. I had I have this little think tank bag that I carry on my shoulder. Had a speed light in it, a couple of pocket wizards, and it had my flash bender in it. So... and no light stands, nothing. So I go find a music stand, and I kind of twist it around, balance my speed light on it, and position it so that I can blow those shadows intentionally.
Right.
So a lot of people spend time getting rid of shadows. I spend a lot of time adding shadows.
Yeah, creating it.
And yet when you look at this image is a mixture of ambient light and strobe.
Right.
The left side of this image, is available light. So I've got to start my exposure there. You can see it's much warmer. The right side where the strobe is, so the center to right, is hitting the subjects and throwing the shadows. Again, not a quick setup, and a lot of the work we do are not elaborate setups. A lot of them are very fast. There are a couple that are kind of quick.
Right.
This is probably one of the shortest setups I've ever done. We were at the PPA convention in Atlanta a couple of years ago, and this is our wonderful model, Brittany. And I was with a couple of people from Hasselblad, and we were going to play around with sunbounces. So we walk in, and I know this is shocking, but maybe the photographers had gone out and maybe had one round too many the night before. So we walk into the event all going, coffee, and our wonderful model, Brittany, is saying the same thing. And as we're walking in, I turn around and I look at this backlight streaming through the windows from up top, and it's throwing a little bit of color. And I turned to Brittany and I said, how fast can you do your makeup? And I loved it. She looked at me, I've never met her before. She looked at me and goes, how fast can you get me coffee? Deal, I'll get coffee, you do makeup. And we actually shot this. This is flash on camera using a California sun bounce wall. Which unfortunately I don't have one here to show, but it's this plastic arm that comes off the camera.
Oh, I remember seeing this, yeah.
And it's got a card, a coated card, very reflective, and you mount it on your camera, and you take your speed light, and the camera's going this way, bounce the speed light this way.
You're just creating a wall.
You're creating a wall that doesn't exist, but the fact that you can get that light out of flash on camera is unbelievable.
Yeah.
And the setup time is 2 seconds, and Sunbounce used this photograph to promote the product.
Yeah.
It was the quickest setup I've ever done for an ad.
Yeah.
Like no setup time.
Yeah.
So,
lighting is it's elementary, It's like you can do really amazing things with small systems, and of course you can do really crappy with both too.
Yes.
But I mean, it's
our goal is to not do crappy.
To not do crappy.
That's our goal.
Exactly.
We're actually going for really good.
Yeah, for really good.
I mean, this one they gave us the assignment. It was a magazine, and they said, "Well, this author is signing books at a bookstore in Coffee Square in Boston."
Did you get an ebook this one?
But the ebook became part of the story. But what they said to us was, go to the bookstore and photograph them at the bookstore. And it's like, we've never seen a picture of an author signing books. I mean, we can do something more creative than that.
Right.
Called the gentleman up. His name is Nicholson Baker. He's just wonderful. We agreed to meet outside the Boston Public Library. And again, this is lit with one speed light, 2 pocket wizards, Small Shimera softbox coming this way. And if you look on the extreme left side of the frame there, you can actually see the outline of the reflector.
Oh, yes.
Which somebody left in the frame. That would be me. But we cropped it out and we sent it.
Yeah.
This is, again, another speedlight picture. This was shot using a Sunbounce Micro Mini, which is a larger version of a Sunbounce. It's about this big. And my assistant Keiko was just holding the speedlight and bouncing it off of it. And if you look at this, look up in the fire escape. That's all from one speedlight has given you all that light. And, the difference between working with a Sunbounce reflector as opposed to a generic cheap reflector is the quality of the light you're getting out of it.
Right.
Now, these things are more expensive than the cheap ones, but the quality of light is just beautiful.
Right.
And we were able to walk around with this gentleman and shoot him in 4 locations in about 20 minutes.
Right on. And this is obviously, you're using a strobe in this one. There's also...
Exactly what I just explained. This is the Sunbounce Micro Mini is sort of over here, just off frame. Keiko, my assistant, is holding the light, bouncing it into it, and then we're filling it in, and in an image like this, we need to be conscious of the ambient light.
Right.
We got some pretty bright ambient light. This is the entrance to MIT.
Okay.
It's pretty bright ambient light coming in.
Was this shot for like a cover photo? Because it's almost like a perfect...
yeah, that was the design of it.
That was the design of it.
And then here's Rudy again at another place on campus. And again, on this one, the Keiko is holding the Sunbounce up on that side of the frame. And so that we didn't get glare, you can take your cinefoil. Just remember, it fits flat in your camera bag. It's not taking up any room. Well, if I have to worry about where the light's going...
Cinefoil is kind of like gaffer's tape. It's like one of these things you just can just have.
So now if I take this and I put it along the edge of the reflector, guess what? I'm not blowing any hot spots onto the chrome building.
I see.
Chrome buildings are really cool reflectors. You ought to bring one with you everywhere.
Looks like you've used the...
and that's the exact same spot, a totally different photograph. This one we lit with a softbox, but the same place. And I love it. Only at MIT can you walk around with a pretty blonde in a skin-tight spacesuit, carrying a helmet. Nobody notices.
Nobody notices.
It's like the most normal thing in the world. This is actually my wonderful assistant and shooting partner, Keiko. There she is. There, jump, Keiko. And this we were playing around with high-speed sync.
Right.
So using the Pocket Wizard TT5s and TT1s, they have the ability to do hypersync. So the sync speed on this is a 4,000th of a second.
Oh, wow. Yeah, you see, I used to shoot a lot of sports, and I had strobes up in the rafters, alien bees at that time. And I think that I was limited. I forget what the sync was at that time. It was like, 250.
Yeah.
I think it was the max.
Well, if you probably take that same, I've never tested alien bees for this, but if you take that same setup and use the Pocket Wizard TT1s and TT5s, and as a quick, just go into the software.
Something technical.
It's really simple.
Oh, we're doing
it's very just plug it into your computer.
Well, right.
And then drop it onto high-speed sync or hypersync. Excuse me. You will be able to get that strobe up to a certain point, and that depends on the flash duration.
Right.
So,
yeah,
but we can do it with anything.
Right. And that's really we should mention this sort of use is really great for closing down that ambient light.
Well, and if you're out, let's say you're out doing portraits on a beach, okay, or you're doing a wedding picture, you don't want to be shooting at f/16, right?
Right.
The bride and groom in front of a tree, we want that tree, we want to be shooting at 2.8 and 4. Well, if we can get that shutter speed way up there, okay, then we can drop our f-stop. And get rid of a lot of that depth of field that we don't want.
Right.
So that is one of the things that hypersync is great for. It's also, of course, great for freezing action.
Right.
If I'm syncing at a 4,000th of a second.
So I'm going to pull this down because I want to show... Oh, I must have quit it. Crap. I hope it brings up the websites I had. Guess not. I was going to bring up your lighting workshop.
Uh-oh.
Rick. rickfriedman.com.
rickfriedman.com. Somehow that, in theory, should be me.
It should be you. We have kind of slow
time I
internet
looked.
sometime. It'll pop up in a second. But
there we go.
Yeah, so you have, if anybody wants to go to rickfriedman.com, you can sort of see his portfolio and also learn about his workshops, because you have a couple lined up right now.
We have a couple more on this, actually a couple more on the schedule, several more that'll be going up in the next few days. And we have a tremendous number that we know are coming up. We just need to nail down dates.
Nail down dates. So
I know that we will be back in London in January.
So you're going to be international too. So it's not just here in Boston or New York. It's all over the country and the world.
It's all over the U.S. and there's a lot of travel.
Not all over the world, but there's some travel.
No, but we're working on
Europe.
We're working on it. Yes, we're definitely working on the rest of the world.
Okay, so that's rickfriedman.com. I just want to make sure people go there. So I'm doing this workshop we were talking about. I'm doing a workshop in Maui.
That sounds so cool.
It's actually happening in June.
It's
coming up very soon, and this is actually going to be my first workshop.
We all love it. It's fun.
I mean, I'm curious to hear from you. Like, what is the experience like when being an instructor at a workshop? Now, I've been a producer and semi-instructor at like the Eddie Adams workshop, but that's a different ball game. That's like a whole different thing. One of many moving parts. I'm going to be doing this with another co-instructor, but. How long did it take you to kind of get in the groove? I mean, obviously you're learning every time, right?
Yes, well, we're always learning every time. I think kind of the best advice I can tell you, doing them, have fun.
Just have fun.
Have a great time.
Have a blast.
If you're having a great time, they're going to have a great time. Obviously, if the location is dealing with all the technical issues regarding location, then your job is to get out there and share info, go out shooting with them, and just have a good time. You know, I think it's really important that people enjoy the workshop, that it's not just going and sitting in a classroom.
Oh yeah, it's not going to be that. When you do workshops, are most of your clients, students, attendees?
In the UK, they call them delegates.
Delegates,
yes,
really?
In the UK, they're delegates.
Are your delegates, what's their skill level? Does it range completely, or is it usually?
Yes, it really does.
Because, I mean, that's going to happen with mine. We're going to be everything from almost pro to complete novice.
Yeah, and it's interesting. We do some workshops that we bill as advanced location lighting workshops. And then we do some that, kind of start at the beginnings. And the way that I do my workshop is, I keep leaning on things. Sorry, because things moves on me. The way that I'll do sort of a general workshop is, I start everyone the same, which is please introduce yourself, tell us what you do, and tell us what you would like to get out of this. So we're all we just did one at Photo Workshops Miami last week. And we started that one, and we all just sat around a big table and got to know each other and chat. And so when we then got up to shoot, there are barriers that are already broken down. Just like when you do your portraiture, you need to break down the barrier with the subject. I want the workshops to be relaxed. I want it to be fun. And for a lot of the workshops that I do, I will start with the premise that if you have one light, one lens, and one camera, I'll show you all sorts of ways to make really cool light. And we'll all get up and do that. And sometimes we'll have models, and sometimes we won't. And I give people exercises. I show them different techniques. And then I give them exercise. And everybody gets up and shoots. And I kind of run around the room and chat with everybody and make sure everybody's happy. And, try a flash bender. Try using a sun bounce wall. Try bouncing it off the ceiling.
Really,
Try all these different things, Don't have a wall, get a flex fill and bounce it off of that. And this way, people are getting comfortable with their cameras. Yeah, I can quickly sort of tell who might need a tad more work.
Right.
And yet keep it going.
Yeah.
And I watch when people are comfortable with that, well, then we bring everybody back and we show a couple more pictures and we talk about the next step. So for me, the next step usually is, let's get that light off camera. Okay. Now we have to talk about how we're going to use it off camera. Well, if you have a camera with a built-in pop-up flash, you probably have a transmitter. Not a very good one, but you have one.
Right.
And that versus using a radio system, using the different types of pocket wizards.
Yeah.
And then I bring them steak away from that. Because a lot of people, if they've never done it, you say, pocket wizards, And they're like, oh, no, I can't do that.
Mm-hmm.
And, my line is like, here, there, go play with them. You're not going to break them.
Uh-huh.
And now all of a sudden they get comfortable with that, and then we start a softbox, and then we add another. But it's a building process. So throughout it, everybody's comfortable with it. And then, depending on the length of the workshop, at the end of it, we will be throwing patterns on walls. We will be shooting some inside, outside.
Uh-huh.
We'll go outside in horrific light because
make it look amazing.
If you have to shoot in horrific light, well, you have to shoot.
Yeah.
So we'll go outside and do that. But it's really a building process. And the idea, again, is make it fun, comfortable for everybody to do. Everybody gets to use the gear.
Uh-huh. That are usually like provided by sponsors.
Well,
or do you how does that work usually?
A lot of it's my own gear.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
I'm sort of part of the whole thing. I tell people you can't use my cameras and you can't use my lenses. I do have speed lights that I let people use.
Right.
Because some people take a lighting class and not have any light, and some people will ask me about, well, should I buy lighting before? And my general answer is no. Come to the class. I'll have some stuff you can use. Let's find out what you need before you walk into a camera store and buy something that's not right.
Uh-huh.
Or, this may be sort of right, but maybe this would have been a little better. And here's a chance to go play with it all.
Right.
And then when they go into the camera store, if they come into Adorama here, they can say, well, gee, I really think I want a Nissan 8000 flash. And we might already have discussed why would you want a Nissan as opposed to a Canon.
Uh-huh.
And then they can go up and talk to the nice salesperson here and do another comparison, but they will already have played with them.
Right.
And then I think that builds confidence.
Right.
And it takes a lot of the mystique out of it because there is a lot of mystique in what we do.
Uh-huh.
So, I mean, my line about it is it can't be that hard. I can do it. Some of what we do is quite hard. This one that's passing now.
And at the end of the workshop, I'm trying to so you also work on editing with them, yeah? So do they usually? I imagine.
I do. Well,
or is it more just like you go out, you produce, and then
it depends on the workshop. So if it's a couple of day lighting workshop, then we're going to stay with lighting.
Uh-huh.
Some of them will spend some time editing. Most of my workshops are not the kind of workshops, although we have a couple coming up.
Uh-huh.
But we're going to have somebody else come in and teach the post-production.
Right.
I'm going to concentrate on lighting and composition. Yeah. Somebody else
keep to your skill set.
That's it. And the other thing I find is people have X number of good hours a day, and then their heads are full.
That's true.
So, and I do know folks who do workshops that, it'll be a 4 or 5 day workshop, and they'll get up at sunrise and they'll shoot sunrise, and then they'll go edit that, and then they'll go shoot at dusk, and they'll go edit that, and they'll, when it's after a couple of days of that, I'm not quite sure how much fun people are having.
Yeah.
So I think they need to enjoy it, and I find for myself, that when I teach, I give it my all. I am 100% at teaching. And I need to rejuvenate.
Right. That's true.
That said, the majority of my workshops, which theoretically end at 5 or 6, never end before 8, and then inevitably a whole bunch of us go out to dinner and hang out.
And drinks.
So which is a good time,
Yeah.
It's so funny to see some of these go by because some of these slides that kind of look like back setup slides, that's what they are.
That's what they are.
Presentation to show you how they were done.
Right, totally. I was just wanting to put up some photos while you were talking so people could get an idea of the types of stuff that you do and are that they might be able to learn at your workshops.
Yeah,
and I know that we haven't gone through the slideshow.
Don't do that, by the way.
Don't do that. Did you get hit, by the way?
No. I duck really fast.
I just ducked really fast. So that's really great, Rick. I know that you've got somewhere you've got to be.
Unfortunately.
So we got to end this sucker. But I just want to make sure that everybody goes to your website, rickfriedman.com. On social media.
Yes.
Are you at Rick Friedman? Is that what it is? Or?
On Facebook, we are Location Lighting Workshops. Cleverly.
Lighting? So all this information, by the way, will be in the info below.
Yeah. Please go and follow it.
Uh-huh.
Let me see. There were some things that I also have a Facebook page. It's Rick Friedman.
Right.
Then on Instagram and Twitter, we are Rick Friedman Pics.
Mm-hmm.
So we're out there a lot. And so somebody's saying something to me. Am I forgetting something? No. Okay.
What does he forget?
I thought I was forgetting something. So please go ahead and follow them and like them and Send us invitations to follow you.
Awesome.
And we're happy to do it. And like I said, always happy to share information.
Yeah.
And,
check out his website, his blog. It's got some really great information. We've featured some of his
yes, we greatly appreciate
his Tuesday tips.
Tuesday's tips. Yeah, which when we started the blog, that seemed like a good idea, right? We'll call it Tuesday's tips. I'm not quite sure why we came up with that. And then I realized, wait, now I'm supposed to do this every Tuesday. Yep. And we try to remember this Gronk picture that just went by from Sports Illustrated. There is a blog post of how we photographed Rob Gronkowski, I think maybe one more back too, how we photographed Rob Gronkowski in 5 locations in 18 minutes. And we went through exactly how we did that.
Right.
So let me see, what else is there? Well, we're trying to put stuff up all the time.
Yep.
You know, I tell people, if you have a question, drop me an email. I try to answer them all.
Yep.
So please do. If I don't get back to you in a reasonable period of time, it probably means I'm on the road.
Yep.
Or shooting, or just spacey, or some 2 out of 3. Yeah, bug me, yeah, because I enjoy the questions, and I enjoy, the ones they make me think and bring up challenges.
Yeah, and so check him out. I do recommend his workshop if you're looking into getting some lighting. And please subscribe to our YouTube page, where hopefully you're watching this. You can please bookmark photobrigade.com/live. That's where you'll see this, all of our previous podcasts, our upcoming events, and live shows. Thank you very much, Rick.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been an honor.
Yep, been great. All right.
Thank you.
See you next time, everyone.
Take care of it.